You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shemaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shemaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have another true honor talking to our special guest for today. We're going to talk to W. Alan Morris. He is the author of All In, and he's also CEO of Alan Morris Company, one of the largest award-winning developers of office, multifamily, condominium, hotel, and mixed-use projects in Florida and Georgia. He's also a Lifetime Achievement Award of the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce. He has a mission for his company to inspire, impress, and improve the lives of everyone that he touches. I just want to say welcome, Alan, to the show. How you doing today?
Excellent. Great to be with you today.
So let's talk about you before we talk about your book, All In. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to being able to do great things for your organization, what's some of the things that help you to get to where you are today?
Well, I think the main thing has been over the years to learn as much as I could learn from the best teachers that I could find, and to only work half a day. That's about 12 hours a day.
Take us back. What were some of the things that you did that allowed you to be where you are with the impact and influence that you have for your community?
Well, I think the main thing is to, for me, was I was terrified of mediocrity, and really wanted to try to be excellent at whatever I did as a young man. And so I realized that starting off in this business, my father had started this real estate business in 1958. And I was the youngest in my family. I have two older sisters that had no interest in business. My mother had no interest in business. And I did not have any plans to go into the business, but as I got involved, I got passionate about and excited about what we were doing in the business, and decided that I wanted to learn as much as I could, as fast as I could, and earn the respect of the professionals that had been in the business for many years more than me as a young man. So I felt like I needed to learn as much and be able to speak knowledgeably from my reading and my study and my earning professional designations, so that I would earn their respect as not as much experience as they had, but an eager learner. And so that's how I started in the business, and actually I became president and CEO when I was 28 years old. My father was anxious to retire.
With your book, All In, you talk about risking everything for everything that matters. What's different about your book? Because there's tons and tons of books out there with leadership. What makes your book stick out from the rest?
Well, I don't know any other leadership book like this. And that's why I felt like I had to write it, and why people told me I really needed to write this book. Because this is more about what goes on inside the private life of a leader. It's not about the 3 key things to become a great leader. It's about the journey into ourselves to discover what is it about ourselves that we don't know, that we need to learn, to find out what may be holding us back, both as a leader and as a husband and as a father and as a community leader. Because we are made up of the combined experiences of our childhood. And oftentimes we're carrying baggage around that we think we got over years ago, but influences us every day, even though we don't know it. And so this is basically why we call the book All In, Shemaya. We call it All In because it's about going all in to the truth about yourself, looking into the truth about your own life, discovering what's there, and then being willing to go after it with both hands and both feet. In other words, all in, to jump into what you discover, to let yourself be open to transformation of your life and transformation of your outcomes.
And speaking of transformation of your life and your outcomes, what then does it look like for a leader to their daily routine? Because it's one thing to have that mindset, but it's another, like you just said, both hands and both feet actually taking those action steps to actually make a difference.
Well, Shemaiah, that is an excellent question, because this is not a once and done kind of thing. It starts with an initial commitment, but it has to be a day by day part of your life that you're willing to go all in every day and stay open to the crises and the conflicts that you face every day in your life. And instead of responding to them with resentment and anger or as a victim, to respond with curiosity and to stay open to what there is to learn from each of these experiences, whether it's a crisis or painful loss or things that are traumatic in our lives, to take those and use those as the rocket fuel for our transformation.
Once again, talking to our special guest on Honorary Focus Radio, Alan Morris. You can go to his website, alanmorris.com. We were talking about his amazing book, All In. And when people are going through life and they are graduating, if you will, different levels and different stages in their life, how easy, or maybe not easy, what are some ways we can recognize our blind spots that we are not always seeing the reality of, but we kind of miss out, but it's an eyesore for everyone else?
Well, that's a great question too, Shemaiah. What I discovered one day when I was leaving my house not long ago is I was backing out of the garage, as I have done 1,000 times. I was in a hurry, checked the rearview mirror, looked out of my side window, all clear. I had to get going, stepped on the gas, and I heard this horrible screeching sound of metal on metal all the way down the side of my car. Now, my first reaction, honestly, was, what idiot parked their car in the driveway behind my garage? And once I got over my anger, I thought, that's curious. How could I not see something the size of a car only 10 feet away from me? Well, it's because it was in my blind spot. And then I thought, how many things do I not see the size of a car in my life, in my relationships, in my business, that are in my blind spots? And so I think the answer to your question is we get tips when we have blind spots. For me, it was when I heard that horrible screeching sound and realized I had torn up the side of my car. And you may get tips that you have blind spots because of a conflict you have with your spouse, or because of a conflict you have with your colleague at work, or because of problems that you have going on in your life, or when you discover that you're in the grips of an addiction that you cannot stop your dysfunctional, self-damaging behavior. These are tip-offs that you have a blind spot that could be a great opportunity for healing and restoration in your life.
And speaking of healing and restoration, would you say purpose is something that helps people who are serious enough to escape those blemishes?
The idea of purpose is a great question and a great point, because I believe that when we get free from the things that have us in bondage in our lives, it sets us free also to get clarity on our life purpose. And that's a beautiful kind of freedom. And so this journey of All In is a transformational journey to freedom. I sometimes call this book a freedom manual for people that want success in their lives.
And for you personally, since you mentioned the word freedom, how did you personally find that out for yourself and say, you know what, okay, now I can escape this and that and actually pursue what it is that I was, I guess you can say, born to do? Well,
like many of us, Shemaiah, my freedom came at a high cost. I had to experience pain in my life and loss in my life to get my attention. You know, I'd like to think I've got all this education and I've got all these great life experiences. I should have the intelligence to know when I need to change something in my life. But the truth of the matter is, I only seem to learn the really important things from pain. And it started with me when I started having severe headaches 24 hours a day. And they were so severe that I went to the hospital and met with the head of the neurosurgery department. And after interviewing me, he said, well, Alan, I'll tell you right now, with your symptoms, you've got a brain tumor. So let's do the MRI and let's see where your tumor is and then we'll know what our options are. So I said, wow, well, I can't do anything about that. I better do the MRI and see, if God's going to teach me something from this. I just put myself in God's hands, and he did the MRI. He then came back and sent me back in to have a CAT scan because the MRI was inconclusive. He came back to me afterwards and said, look, I don't know what to tell you. I've examined the films myself, and I've met with the radiologist, and your tumor is not there. I said, well, then why are you calling it my tumor? He said, look, he didn't have a sense of humor. He said, look, I can give you muscle relaxants, and I can give you pain meds, and I can give you beta blockers so that you won't be in any pain. I said, you can't see any physical cause for this severe headaches, but you're going to give me medication to mask the pain? Is that the best you got? He said, I don't know what else to tell you. So I said, well, I'll take the prescriptions and I may take some of the meds, but I've got to get to the bottom of this and find out why I am causing and how I am causing these headaches for myself. And so that began a journey. I said, I'm going to have to, I want to make this my full-time business. I'm going to step out of my own company and let somebody else run the business for a few months. I'm going to take a little bit of a sabbatical here, work with a counselor and work with a coach. And I'm going to try to find out what it is I'm not seeing that's got me in such a painful situation. And that began my journey. But it required pain and loss. And part of the pain was I discovered, well, yes, I've got conflicts with one of my children who got expelled from school. And that was embarrassing for me. And I've got conflicts with my wife, and she seems to be in a bad way, and I don't understand why. And I'm having conflicts with two of my executives in my business, and I feel stuck, and I don't know how to get out of that problem. And I feel overcommitted and stressed out because I've got so much to do. And I've said yes to so many people that I would help them with so many things. And I realized that I just needed to escape, and I needed to escape for a little while. So I took what I called a sabbatical because I didn't know what else to call it. And that's how I began my journey. And the journey has been a pretty exciting journey. And I continue to learn more every day. And I've hosted hundreds of retreats for hundreds and hundreds of men over the last 20 years who are also interested in going on this journey and peeling the next layer of the onion. It's a little bit like, we call it peeling the onion, because as soon as you think you have a great revelation and you see a truth about yourself you've never seen before, and wow, you feel enlightened, and then you discover, hey, there's another layer. And then there's another layer. And so I think of it as a lifetime journey, but it's very exciting with each layer to find healing and restoration in your own life and in your relationships with others.
Once again, we're talking to Alan Morris, and you go to his website, alanmorris.com. And he said something interesting about pulling back layers. And part of me wants to ask this question. So when someone is trying to have structure in their life and progress in life, is it true then that individual must be honest with themselves in order for them to have any direction?
Yes, it sure is. And that's a great way to say it, that a person must be willing to be honest. And so in order to do that, you really need to know that you have complete confidentiality and safety in your relationship, whether it's with a counselor or whether it's with a small group of wise friends that pledge absolute confidentiality and who will create a safe place where you can start being honest and start asking honest questions and be open and curious instead of defensive. Although our immediate, normal, natural reaction is to be defensive, that we can choose to honestly ask questions and begin to explore. What are the things that frustrate me in my life? What are the things that seem to have me blocked in my life? And that's why I wrote the book, All In, How to Risk Everything for Everything That Matters, so that others would not have to go through the long, convoluted process that I had to go through to begin their journey. and to let them see that there's hope, there's a light at the end of the tunnel here, and wonderful opportunities to learn and grow and experience restoration of relationships and renewed joy in your life. And at the end of each of our retreats, the thing I hear most from the men who come to our retreats is, I can't believe the freedom that I feel from this 3-day retreat. I've never experienced anything like this. And it reminds me what the Apostle Paul said in Galatians chapter 5, verse 1, for it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. And this is what he wants for us. He came to give us freedom and to give us sight and to help us see more than we've ever seen before. So this is part of the journey. And if you're interested in learning more about it, the website that we have for the book tells a little bit more about the book and a bit about the journey. And it's called allinbook.com, allinbook.com. And at that website, you'll find more resources and free resources, as well as how to get the book.
And the concept all in is a great concept to digest, because would you also say the individual that's stuck, in order for them to get unstuck, not only do they need to recognize the truth, but they also need to do whatever's necessary to get unstuck, because something led you to being stuck. Now you have to find out why.
Yes. Yeah. And for each person, it's a little different, but the general idea is that we have found areas in our life that we have unresolved pain. We have unresolved conflicts in our lives. And because of that, we find ourselves at an impasse, or where we're stuck. We're locked in a dysfunctional relationship. Maybe it's with our spouse. Maybe it's with one of our children. Maybe it's with a person at work. Maybe it's with a friend that is not feeling much like a friendship anymore, because you have a conflict that you don't know how to resolve. And the opportunity is in a safe place to say, what is it about me? Where have I contributed to this problem? And what can I do differently and see differently in order to be a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem? And that's the beginning of the healing process.
People listen to this and they read your book, All In, go to the website, allinbook.com. What's one thing you hope that they can learn from your personal experience and the expertise that you share for themselves to jump all in?
Well, I think the thing that they can learn from my experience and from the book is there's hope. There really is hope. If you feel like you're stuck in a cycle of depression or addiction, or you're stuck in a cycle of an unresolved conflict in relationships, there is hope. And there is healing available that God wants us to experience in our lives. And that healing begins with looking into the truth about our lives, to see things that have affected us from our childhood, possibly, or from our early years, where we thought we put that behind us. But when we put it behind us, we put it in a backpack that we carry around on our backs with us everywhere we go, and we don't realize that it's still affecting us every day. And so what we need to do is, in a safe place with a safe person helping us, to help us see these blind spots and these areas of our life, we need to take them out and look at these things from our past and resolve them, release them, forgive past injuries and past traumas, and not carry those resentments anymore. And sometimes that's a process that takes several stages and is not just like flipping a switch. But this is where the healing begins. Because when we hold on to resentments from our past, it's been said that it's like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. But we're the ones drinking the poison by holding on to those resentments, holding on to that wound that we've gotten in the past. And instead, we can release that and learn deep, beautiful lessons from that wound that will equip us to both experience healing in our own lives and bring healing in the lives of others from that experience. In the book, I actually describe some of the experiences that I had. I broke my back in a plane crash. I was paralyzed from the waist down. Was in a body cast for 9 months. Went through multiple surgeries and gradually got the use of my legs back. Later, I actually took up martial arts and became a 4th degree black belt, TaeKwonDo Master. Unthinkable. I'm just grateful I can walk. But to have these learned life lessons, lessons of life of conflicts and broken relationships that are restored is the greatest gift of all.
Once again, talking to Alan Morris, you can go to his website, alanmorris.com. And for the book, you can go to allinbook.com. Last question I asked for you with this whole interview and this discussion about your book and life and your personal journey. Would you say an individual must then, in order to find structure in their life, they have to have the ability to recognize their own dysfunction?
Oh boy, yes. And that takes a lot of courage. And that's partly why we say in the book, how to risk everything for everything that matters. Because when we have the courage to step in and look at what may not be as good as we think it is in our lives, we have the courage to step in and open ourselves to say, what is it that I'm not seeing about myself that I need to see? That takes guts. That takes courage. And that can feel like the riskiest thing in the world, to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable, to ask that question. But we need to ask that question of wise friends that can observe us and tell us the truth about ourselves. You know, I can't give myself a haircut because I can't see behind my head. To cut my hair, at least not do it well, but I have to trust somebody with a really sharp razor or really sharp scissors to do to my haircut behind my head where I can't see, because I can't do it myself. And it's the same way when we're looking into the blind spots in our lives. It takes courage. It takes a willingness to be a little bit vulnerable, but the reward is the greatest reward ever. The reward is clarity in your life purpose. It's joy in your life, and it's restored relationships. That's risking everything for everything that matters.
I want to say thank you, Alan Morris, for just taking time to talk to us today. But one last question, if I may, because this is a very interesting topic.
Certainly.
If they only accept dysfunction in their life, then the only reward they have is even more dysfunction.
Well, that's right. Sadly, whether it's a dysfunctional behavior or an addiction, most of us, when we have addictions, don't recognize that they're addictions. Addiction is whether it's addiction to alcohol or drugs or sex or pornography or work addiction or codependency addiction or many, many other things that can be addictions in our lives. Addiction seems to travel with the number one symptom is a blindness to its existence. That's why we need a trusted person, like the barber cutting our hair behind our head where we can't see. We need a wise, trusted person that we would be willing to listen to and open up to, because the consistent truth about all addictions and dysfunctional behaviors is it's a downward spiral. Addictions will do predictably the same thing, regardless of which addiction it is. The first thing it will do is it will take away from you the most valuable things in your life, whether it's your marriage or whether it's your relationship with your family or your children, or whether it's your career. It takes away the things you value the most, and then it takes away your life. So it's serious. It's terminal. And unless you break that cycle of addiction and dysfunctional behavior, it is a downward spiral that only gets worse. And fortunately, there's an opportunity when you hit bottom to decide, are you sick and tired of this addiction? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? And you're willing to take the risk to go all in. I have several addictions, an achievement addiction, a codependency addiction that I discovered in my life that had me in a downward spiral. And until I was willing to recognize my dysfunctional behaviors and my addictive patterns, I would never get healing and restore my joy in my life and restore my relationships in my life. And that's what I hope for everybody that's listening to this broadcast today, that they would realize there's hope, there's recovery, there's joy, and there's clarity of purpose when we go all in and take a look at the truth about our lives, because there's healing on the other side.
I would like to echo that. There's healing on the other side. I want to say once again, we've been talking to Alan Morris. You go to his website, alanmorris.com, and for the book All In, you can go to allinbook.com. I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule talking to I Am Refocused Radio today.
Thank you. It's so great to be with you. Thank you for letting me join you today.
I Am Refocused Radio is brought to you by Foo 4-Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4-Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.